This episode of What the Tech is brought to you by Braintree. If you're searching for the right payment API, Braintree makes it easy to support multiple mobile payment types with one simple integration. To learn more and to try out their sandbox, go to BraintreePayments.com/podcast.
What the tech?
Hey everybody, welcome to What the Tech. I'm Andrew Zarian. Of course, I'm joined by the one, the only, Mr. WinSuperside.com himself, Paul Thurrott. How you doing, Paul?
Pretty good. How are you?
I like your hair today.
Thank you. I like your hair today as well.
Oh, thank you. I don't even know where I am and what I'm doing. I'm in Los Angeles today. I'm broadcasting from Spencer's studio. And I got up at 3 a.m. to get a 6 o'clock flight out of New York.
That's awesome.
So it was brutal. I mean, you do these all the time. I mean, these like weird it's like time zone shifts. And it's brutal on you, right? Like, it's almost like
it is on me.
You're a little shaky. I get like shaky from this.
I see that type of 3 a.m. thing. I would be recovering from that for a week.
Really?
You know? Oh yeah. I can't handle that kind of stuff.
No, it was weird. Like, I got the early flight out and I thought it'll be no problem, getting to the airport. There was so much traffic to the airport. The airport was a madhouse because apparently there's like a couple flights, cheap flights that go to the Caribbean, and everybody takes those flights at 6 a.m. to the Caribbean. So like the Dominican Republic. So it was like a madhouse, but my flight had nobody on it. There were like 90 people on the flight. So it was totally empty, and that was easy. But I'm like all off today, and I do not like this.
By the way, I should just mention, not to change the subject slightly.
Yeah.
If I go offline, it could be because of Skype, because that happens.
Okay.
But it also could be because we're having a Category 5 death storm today. And so it's like I can see the trees up there like kind of just, swaying back and forth, and the wind is like rattling the windows and stuff. So
yeah, so that's the other thing. There's a big nor'easter hitting, but it's not snowing. It's going to be like this rainstorm with like crazy.
Was that happening when you got up this morning?
When I got up, it was raining, but not heavy. Like the wind hadn't kicked in.
That's what it was like when I got up this morning. Yeah, but it turned into something.
As we were like leaving, I saw like all the flights starting to change to delayed at JFK. Right. So we just made it.
Yeah, what an awful day to have to fly. Well, it's over. There's no way anyone's flying out of here or into here today right now. There's no way.
It has to be brutal.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a weird week, too. A lot of people aren't flying this week anyway. So,
sure.
But we're going to talk about technology, guys. That's what we do here, not weather.
Oh, is that what we're talking about?
This isn't What the Weather. But maybe we should do a show called What the Weather.
What the Weather.
That might work out,
endlessly fascinating.
Yeah, so we have a couple things planned for you guys. We're going to do our holiday wish list today. We're going to talk about the products that we want and why we want them. We're also going to suggest some things because we've been getting a lot of emails around this time. And people say, what should I get? I want to get a tablet. I want to get a set-top box. I want to get a TV. I've done my research, by the way, on TVs. So I think I've determined which TV to get at this point. Wow. But before we go into that, why don't we talk about our sponsor? And they're back again, and that's Braintree. We spoke about them a couple weeks ago. I got a lot of positive comments about these guys. So for people who don't know what Braintree is, Braintree, you incorporate their service on your website or application where it makes payments super easy. So it's a payment API, essentially. And this is targeting developers, website managers, people like that are in the know and they're building a platform. Now, when you're making a website, it gets really complicated with this stuff because you might need to integrate a couple different ways to accept payments. With Braintree, it's one payment type for all your customers. So you could do PayPal, you could do Apple Pay, you could even do Bitcoin, all major credit cards and debit cards, 130 global currencies. You don't have to worry about, implementing different types of APIs in your system to accept money. Here's some other things that you may not know about this. It takes literally minutes to implement. So if you don't have time and you're a busy developer, no worry. It takes minutes, and if you don't have the time to do it, you can call them up, and they will help you. They will walk you through in integrating this in your application. There's only 10 lines of code also, so it's really easy to do. For security, they do merchant protection. They have a phenomenal backend for security. You never have to worry about fraud. If you get hacked, Braintree has it covered. Braintree uses tokens to secure the payment information, so the user's credit card never gets passed onto the merchant server. Super fast, super easy, and super secure. And they have a great deal right now. If you go to BraintreePayments.com/podcast, you could sign up there, and your first $50,000 of transactions, they're fee-free. So you don't have to worry about, the merchant transactions. For the first 50 grand, it's free for you to use because they want you to use this. Once you start implementing this, you're going to know this is where you want to go. Braintree.com. It's BraintreePayments.com/podcast. And I'm sorry, it's BraintreePayments.com. Sorry, BraintreePayments.com/podcast. And let them know that you heard about it on What the Tech. So, Paul.
Yes, sir.
My Braintree may not be working too well today. My personal Braintree. So we're going to make it fun. We're going to keep this easy today. We're going to talk about the holiday and what to get people and what you want. And I'd love to know from the chat room what they're looking to get this year, because it's sometimes it blows my mind when it's not one of the traditional things.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like everybody wants an iPad,
like they
or
want
everybody
a BlackBerry or something.
Yeah, like they're like, oh, I want a BlackBerry. And you wonder, like, why? Why do you want a BlackBerry?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So let's talk about some of these. Yes. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I have something to add to the list. That's all.
Okay. Oh, you're adding it to the list. So people have been asking me, this is my personal list. And one of the things, it's going to be ridiculous, but I'm going to tell you why it's here. So obviously, I got the Xbox One, $349. You can't go wrong with that. Do you agree?
Yeah, it's number one on my list. And in fact, by the way, just be aware of this.
Our list is identical, even in the order.
Yes. Well, yeah, it's kind of strange. So, maybe that isn't strange, right? But Microsoft is doing a 12 days of deals at Microsoft stores, online and in retail stores. Tomorrow, if you can buy an Xbox, if you can wait until December 10th, Wednesday, December 10th, to buy an Xbox, if you can get it at a Microsoft store, you'll get another $50 off and a free game.
So it's going to be $299.
I think it's unclear exactly. It may actually still be $359 or $349 plus the free game. It just says save $50. Save $50 is the standard holiday deal, but because this is a special deal, no, I guess it is still $349. But I guess tomorrow what you get is. So I'm sorry. I'm going to step back once again. So this is the Xbox One Assassin's Creed bundle, right? It's $349 today. And what you get with that is two games, two Assassin's Creed games, one wireless controller. It's the 500 gigabyte hard drive, standard console, no Kinect. According to the site, we'll have to wait till tomorrow, but I believe this is going to be another $50 off, and then you get a free game as well. And it's a $109 savings. So yeah.
That's actually phenomenal.
So even if it's only $50 more, or even if the deal is only you get that free game, still consider getting it tomorrow. It's also not clear if it's every version of Xbox One or just this one Assassin's Creed bundle. So check back to the Microsoft Store tomorrow. I guess my point is wait one day.
Okay.
Just to see what
so wait a day. If you're going to buy this right now, you should wait a day and not buy it today. So I have the Xbox One, but I have it for a different reason. And I kind of justify this, okay? A lot of people are buying set-top boxes, and it's going to be a big seller. But if you want to implement this in your system and you want to kind of play games, I can't see a better deal than the Xbox at this point. You may not be a big gamer, but you may consume a lot of media. So my question to you, Paul, is what's not on the Xbox One when it comes to media streaming, like ABC On Demand or CBS's, feed?
Well, yeah, so some of that more esoteric stuff, I'm not actually sure. The only big kind of media platform that's not in there right now is Google, right? And that may not never come. I don't know. But obviously it has all the high points. Showtime to Go, or whatever they're calling it, Showtime Go, was just added. HBO Go is there. There's a massive list. In fact, let's see if we can find it on the Xbox website.
Because I'm trying to figure out. It's still bizarre to me that certain applications, certain networks are not on certain things. Like I've been using an Amazon.
Yeah. You know, if you have an Xbox fan, like an Xbox One fan, they have an Xbox One Media remote you can get. I don't know off the top of my head how much this is, but I'm $30,
I think
something like that.
Yeah, it's $29.
Yeah, I mean, that's a cool little addition, something you'll want if you're using it in your living room because, you know, again, controllers turn off, right? And if you want to pause it immediately, I guess you could also work with your voice if you have Kinect. But, you know, there's a lot of stuff around the Xbox as well. Xbox, if you know someone who has an Xbox One, a controller is always a safe bet. An Xbox Live card or Xbox Music or one of those Microsoft/Xbox gift cards, right? That you can get digital or physical. You know.
See, I always tell people, don't if like let's say I have an Xbox and you know I have an Xbox, don't go and buy me a video game.
No, just get the money in
the video game.
Yeah, so right, because let them do that. Because some people might want to buy it electronically. They don't want the disc, you know. Let the person with the console buy the game. But you know, giving that kind of digital gift where it's, you know, like I don't know, this is really not a good name for it, but the Microsoft, you know, gift card, the Xbox gift card is absolutely the way to go because that money gets applied to their account and they can do whatever they want with it.
The next thing I have on the list here, and you do too, is the HP Stream 13.
Yep.
Why do you have it on your list?
Well, actually, I should have said HP Stream 11/13 because I think that these two machines, which are $199 and $299, represent probably the best value in laptops. You know, like non-touch laptops today. They are Celeron processors. They're 2 gigs of RAM. It's 32 gigs of eMMC storage. They're not like, you know, full HD screens or anything like that. They don't have multi-touch. They both have some form of SD expansion if you need that kind of thing. But these are new generation PCs aimed at the mobile first, cloud first world where you're going to have your data stored up in the cloud. You're going to be accessing online services. And you're not necessarily going to be installing a bunch of big, heavy desktop applications. Although, by the way, both of these machines come with, obviously, the free year of Office 365 Personal, which gives you full Office 2013 that you can install on the machine. And they both come with a $25 Microsoft gift card that you can use for the store, you know, for the app, game, music, whatever stores that are available through the machine. So they're just tremendous values, and they're not, you know, they're inexpensive, but they're not cheap. You know, they're nicely made. They have
it's not the netbook.
No,
and I think that's a mistake a lot of people are making, where when they look at this laptop, they consider that they consider it a netbook, and it's not. You're actually getting a decent amount of horsepower out of this thing. It's just inexpensive. I like them, but which one would you go with? Do you think the 11 is a little too small?
For me, it is, right? My wife actually is using an 11. My daughter will probably soon be using the other 11 we have. If this was for me, if I was going to use this thing around the house, you know, I'd want the 13. I have a hard time using machines that have screens smaller than that. And you know, I've used a 15-inch Ultrabook for years, and so I got very used to that size as well.
See, I can't go with the 15. It's too bulky for me.
Well, no, like the Ultrabook, it's not in the room right now, but it's no thicker than a MacBook Air. It's basically just a 15-inch version of that. It's not thicker. It's just, you know, a little wider and bigger screen.
Yeah. So we both agree on the HP. I'm just trying to see where we start. Here's one. Okay. So my third pick is the Amazon Fire TV. Did I do my little review of it last week on the show or no? I may not.
No,
have.
I don't think you talked about it. I know you had gotten it, but I don't think you really got into
it. I actually really like the setup, and I haven't used it long enough to say this is the best one, but so far I think it's the best one for a number of reasons. One, it's super fast. I mean, it's crazy.
That's something
fast.
I'm gonna have to test. I was just thinking about this today, by the way. No, sorry to just completely blow this thing you're talking about.
Go.
I have we use a Roku most often out in the living room. In my office here behind me, you can see this kind of elliptical thing. Now that it's getting crappy out and I don't really go for a walk, I use the elliptical instead. And so in the past, actually I should say still, I have an Apple TV connected to it. I have a Roku connected to it. But I've been testing and using the Roku streaming stick, which is the Roku version of the thing you're talking about. I have found the performance on that to be terrible, really bad.
The Roku streaming stick.
On the Roku streaming stick. And I don't know if this is a problem across. Like, I don't think anyone's ever really used a Chromecast and thought the performance was bad. I guess I would say unless you're really money strapped on the Roku, go for the full version. So what I decided, I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to replace it with the Fire TV stick you're about to talk about and see whether that is in fact better performance, because obviously it has a lot of the same services and so forth. So anyway, I'm sorry.
So the I don't have the Fire stick. I have the Fire TV. So I ordered the stick. I haven't gotten it yet.
Sorry, you have the Fire. Okay, so I just erase everything I just said. I'm sorry. You're talking about the full Fire TV. Of course you are.
Yeah. So the Fire Stick, I ordered. I'm getting it like the day before Christmas, so it's essentially useless to give as a gift to someone. It's like the day after Christmas. Actually, I'm getting it. The Fire TV I really like, but here's my problem with the Fire TV, which you have it too. A lot of these applications, like it has certain channels, but it doesn't have other ones. Like ABC On Demand is not on there.
Yep.
CBS is on there, but not CBS, the network. It's like a different CBS. Fox isn't on there. It's weird how they've put stuff on, but I think it's the best looking one right now.
And I don't understand UI and
the UI. Yeah, the UI is absolutely perfect.
It is. It is.
It's a pretty UI.
It's very Amazon centric. I mean, I think the only issue I have with it is that when you go to a Roku, it's very agnostic about what services you use. And the Roku has a very simple interface. You can say, these are the things I want in my channels. And we just have a few. It's basically, Netflix. We have Google in there because it's available now. That performs terribly too. Amazon is in there and a couple of others. The Amazon interface it's all Amazon. And so you have those kinds of choices, TV shows, movies, games, whatever else they have. And then they have apps. And then inside apps, you can have things like Netflix and Hulu and those other things you would probably actually want to do. And they're not out front and center with the Amazon stuff. Of course they're not, right? Because it's an Amazon thing. And I think that's my primary concern there, because I have to say, we are so tilted heavily in favor of Netflix when it comes to non-TV video viewing. And Amazon is probably possibly the third choice,
So when it comes to that, right? Why do you think most people are leaning heavily towards Netflix? Is it because it's been there and that's why we recognize, or?
Yeah, no, they have the best content. Obviously none of these services are going to be perfect or complete, but Netflix, I think between 2 or 3 of these, you get basically everything you ever wanted. And of course, if all you want to do is rent a movie, right? Any service will work fine for that. They all have the same stuff. But I just consider Netflix. If I could only choose one, I would choose Netflix.
You would choose Netflix.
There's just of those types of services, subscription, monthly. They have some.
Because that's what I'm doing right now. Like the only 2 monthly subscription services that I use, I have Hulu. I don't think I've used Hulu in maybe like a year and a half.
No, and it's one of those things I keep going back to. And this is what happens when you use Hulu. Yeah. Like you'll hear something about Hulu and you say, oh, maybe I'll give it a try again, So you pay the $10 or whatever it is for the month and you start watching something on Hulu. And then a commercial comes on and you can't skip it. And you're like, screw these guys. Like, seriously? Like that's what this is? And so Hulu's never really done it for me.
I have it. I haven't used it. So the only 2 that I subscribe to is the WWE Network and Amazon, really. I'm sorry, Netflix.
It's a typical range.
Yeah. Yeah, that's about it.
It's like the rest of America.
Yeah. I mean, listen,
you have Prime. You have Prime shipping from Amazon.
I do. So here's my problem with Prime, and this is the only issue I have with.
I mean, so you just get that, right? I mean, it's not like you're not paying for that separately. It's something you get.
No, what for Prime?
Yeah. No. In other words, you're paying for Prime, but the Prime Video service, Instant Video or whatever it's called, you just get that. So
you just get
even though you might not pay for it separately, you get it. And so it's worth keeping on there, and it's worth looking at from time to time to see what's new and pin those items.
They don't have anything. They don't have anything on there.
It just doesn't seem as good as Netflix.
Yeah. It's like they'll have stuff, but it's never the stuff you want to watch, and that drives me up the wall because it's like, okay, season 4 of Archer. Oh, okay, season 3's on there, but season 4 I got to pay.
Yeah.
Like I got to pay for this.
Okay, so I would have to look at that one specifically, but I'm going to guess that season 4 of Archer is not on Netflix either, or so. I mean, the difference.
No, it is. It is on Netflix,
okay.
But
okay.
Not the seasons that like it's confusing.
That could be an exclusive deal, because they have those kinds of things going on. Though it's not a huge advantage. In fact, in some ways, it can be very confusing. But one of the things that Amazon has over Netflix and it has over Hulu, I would imagine, and any of those types of services, is that they also sell those things, right? And so they can pad out a series with some things that you get for free as part of the service, and then some other episodes of a show that you would have to pay for because that's the only way to get them from Amazon. That could be confusing, right?
But don't you think they should? And you tell me if I'm wrong. And I'd love to know what the audience thinks of this.
Mm-hmm.
Am I the only one that's confused when I'm going and I'm finding stuff because it's not sorted like, okay, this is free and this is paid? You know what I mean? Like it's not it's not cut and dry.
So actually what they do is they put a little triangular badge up on the corner of the video graphic, the album art, that says, Prime. It's like a Prime logo. That's your indication. It is subtle, but that's what I mean. In other words, like the Archer thing's a great example. You could be power watching Archer. You really get into the show. So you're at the end of season 3 and you go forward to season 4 and now you're wondering why it doesn't just play. And it's at first you're like, what's going on here? And then of course, then your natural reaction once you realize, wait, they want me to pay $20 or $30 or whatever it is for the season. It's like, screw these guys, And in the case of Archer, if it's true that that season happens to be on Netflix for free for part of the subscription, then that's probably the right reaction because you can see it as part of something you're already paying for elsewhere. But I think that's the point. I don't think most people have just one thing, and that's why Roku and the Amazon box too is why those devices or Xbox One or whatever you choose to use is so great because you do have that choice. You can go back and forth.
So the other thing, and this just popped into my mind when we were talking about this. One of our viewers, and I'm so sorry if I can't remember which one of you it is, and I apologize in advance. He wrote this interesting tweet. I think I was traveling that week, so I didn't really get to respond. But he started tweeting to me which set-top box has the best picture quality.
Oh, okay.
Did you see that? Like, I think he added you, and he added Brian Brushwood and Tom Merritt and me.
Although, by the way, not to get off of my Roku streaming stick thing, that's another issue with that device. The video quality is actually not that great.
See, and I thought they were all the same. I thought they would all be the same, but they're not. Yeah. He actually says that and I could be wrong. Mm-hmm. You know what? I'm not even going to quote him because I can't even remember for the life of me which one he said. I have a feeling he said the Roku had the best black levels.
Okay.
Or the Apple TV had the best black levels, and Roku had like a secondary one, and that's
part of it could be the service. Part of it could be there's all kinds of stuff, but
yeah.
Out in the living room, full Roku 3, Apple TV, those are the big ones. But even Xbox 360 we have out there, or the Amazon Fire TV is out there as well. Not that we use it a lot. Or Chromecast, even Chromecast. Yeah. I honestly don't really see a big.
So I'm no longer allowed to talk about the Chromecast because I'm apparently a giant jerk for not understanding or using the Chromecast. And I get torn apart every time I see something negative about the Chromecast.
Everyone does. That's part of the community.
Like, I don't dislike the Chromecast. For me, I dislike it. I don't dislike it for you. You may love it. I'm not telling you not to use it. I'm just saying I don't get the point of using a Chromecast if I have all these other things.
Right.
And I would much rather, like for my brother, for example, I gave my brother a Chromecast a year and a half ago, last year when it came out. He never used it. It's just sitting there. I got him a Roku stick, and he uses that every day. It's just whatever it is, whatever you're doing. I said
honestly,
something on the show.
I think that's the big deal, though, because any of these things work fine. I mean, they're all fine.
Whatever makes you happy. That's all I'm saying. But for me right now,
that's what we're all about. Yeah.
For me, the Amazon TV is making me really happy because it's super fast.
Sure.
I don't know beyond that. I'm hoping to continue with the development of this. Because it has a lot of potential. Yeah, the Fire. It has a lot of potential, and it could really, already you were looking at that thing last week. We were talking about the share, how the market share has changed for the set-top box. And it's like Apple TV, Roku, Chromecast, and Amazon. Amazon is actually registering on that meter where you don't see Google TV or the Nexus Play. And Google TV was out for how many years? And it never registered. Nobody ever had it.
What's this Google TV? I've never heard of this. What is it?
You never heard of Google TV?
We have collectively decided we're going to pretend that never happened.
It was this box that you connected your
Google
TV
was somehow
to.
connected to it.
Google somehow was involved, but here's the catch. It never worked.
Yes.
It barely functioned.
I have a Google TV, like a Sony one. It works pretty good as a TV. I use it to use the Roku.
You know what? you know what the upside of that thing is for people.
It's okay for that.
For people who I should change the shot. Sorry, guys. It's not the double box isn't working. For people who are like, you only have 2 HDMI ports on their computer on their TV. Mm-hmm. Google TV is perfect for that because it works as a pass through. So you're not
Google
using.
TV has 4 USB ports. I mean, HDMI ports.
Your Google TV has 4.
It also, by the way, it also has 4 USB ports, which means I could power 4 sticks if I had to.
Your Google TV?
Yeah, the Sony one.
Yeah. You have the actual TV.
There were 4.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
No, I'm talking about the set-top box.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah,
there were different versions.
I got really confused for a second. I'm like, what the hell device does he have?
Well, it's funny because when I think of Google TV, I think of a TV because that's what mine is. You know, it's literally a TV.
Yeah. But the pass-through, the idea was really good. People didn't care, I guess. It's not that big of an issue. I guess it's not that big of an issue to have the pass-through. But right now, I'm recommending Amazon Fire TV.
Yeah. So the problem with the Fire TV, not the problem, but a problem is if you have any content in Apple, obviously you still need an Apple TV or, you still need an Apple TV. It's really the only basic way you're going to get Apple content up on your TV in any meaningful way. And of course, it doesn't have Google Play support either, which probably is not a huge deal for most people right now. But if you're in that crowd, you know it, and you'll either want a Chromecast.
But if you're in that ecosystem, right? If you're in the if you're using Play, you're more likely to buy a Nexus Play. You know, they're the new Google TV.
Maybe. I mean,
why would you want to have Apple?
What's that?
Why would you want to have an Apple TV?
No, you wouldn't. I guess what I'm saying is you have three basic choices. You have a Google-made device like a Chromecast or a Nexus, which I guess are 2 different things. And then you have Roku has Google Play video, video only, so TV shows and movies. A little slow, but it works. And I think that's the big deal. Chromecast is nice. It's kind of quick and dirty. It does its thing, but I really feel out in the living room as an entertainment solution, you want something with a dedicated remote control. These things all cost well under $100. I mean, there's no reason to, go from, 49 to 29 to save, and not have a remote. It's stupid. I think most people would be better off with a device that has a remote. And so I think the cheapest approach there is probably the thing I'm kind of not happy with the performance of, right? With the Roku streaming stick, because that has the Google Play app on it.
From the reviews that I read, you didn't get the Amazon stick, did you?
We did, yeah.
Oh, you did. Okay, but did you notice a big difference in quality?
That's
between the two.
No, but I'm going to put that on the Google TV that's in front of my elliptical. You can't see the TV, but that's what's up there. It's mounted on the wall. And I'm going to start using that because I want to see what the performance is like. I want to see what the video quality is like. Part of the video quality issue I'm having on the streaming stick might be that it's Wi-Fi. There might be something about the machine that's blocked or whatever. Yeah. It's not an Ethernet connection. That's going to be a problem with any stick. You can't do a hard wire into it.
Yeah. And by the way, it's not really a fair comparison. And the chat room's bringing up the Apple TV hardware is really old. So
the Apple TV, I mean, I think it performs just as well as anything else. I mean, it's fine.
I don't know. The performance is fine. It's just slow for me.
Just hate Apple is what you're saying.
I hate Apple. I'm a Windows fanboy. What do you want? I haven't used a Mac product in years. For me though, I like the Amazon TV. I recommend giving it a shot. It's pretty cheap. It's not that expensive. if you're looking for something different, give it a shot. If not, then Paul's absolutely right. Go with the Roku because that's a safe bet also.
Yeah.
Let's see. So the next thing that I had on my list, this is where it gets a little different.
Right.
So many people, like my wife, they run out of, the battery dies on their phone immediately, like every day. She can't make it throughout the day with the battery, lasting. I picked just one of these USB chargers. You could pick another one. I picked the Jackery bar. It's 12,000 milliamps, so this thing could technically power up your laptop. I have one. I bought it on Amazon a couple months ago, and it's actually amazing how convenient it is to have this. So what I do, if I'm going out, I just put it in my bag, or I keep one in the car, just in case if I know I'm going to be traveling. And it's small enough. Like they have different sizes, obviously. You got one that's like 6,000 milliamps, and the thing is so tiny. It's small that it's half the size of your phone, and you just pop it in, and you're charging your phone.
What's the rating on this thing? 6,000.
No, this one that I picked is 12,000.
12,000.
12,000.
Oh, so it's huge. Oh, it's a big one. Okay.
Yeah, this one's a big one, but you get the 6,000, which is plenty if you have a cell phone. Think about it. If you have
I was going to say
3,000 milliamp battery.
I travel with a Nokia branded version of this. It looks like a tube. It's only 3,200 milliamp, so it's it's probably half the size of the smaller version of the thing you're talking about. It's probably a quarter of the size, maybe, but commensurately less juice,
Yeah.
But the thing that's beautiful about it is if you threw one of those in your bag, you'd never even know it was there. It's like a mint container or something. Like it's just so light, tiny, and when you travel, especially, or I should say, if you use your phone all day long and you're going into the city every day, whatever it is, you don't want to run out of power on the other end of that trip. And this is the type of thing that gets you over the edge. And I do this a lot. You fly across country. When I arrive, because you can use the phone on the plane, and then you plug that thing in when you get in the rental car or whatever, and there's enough juice in that thing to charge most of my phones once. So the thing you're recommending is much better than that as far as available power and so forth.
So what I did on my trip to San Francisco, San Diego, I have the big guy, the 12,000 milliamp one.
Yeah.
And I just brought it just to have it. And I'm glad that I did because the plane coming back didn't have an outlet. It had Wi-Fi, but it didn't have a power outlet under the seat.
Right.
It was an older plane. It was an older JetBlue plane. So I ended up using the battery, and I popped it into this 12,000 milliamp. I popped the laptop in there, and it actually kept the charge for the remainder of the flight until I got home.
That's great. I was going to say, these are not expensive. Like, actually, normally they can be expensive. The list price is supposedly $129, but Amazon has them right now for $39.95.
Yeah, the 12,000 milliamp. I mean, that's pretty inexpensive. And by the way, they're not an advertiser of mine. I'm not picking one company over the other one. I personally use these guys, and they were actually really friendly with us on Twitter. I tweeted that I bought it, and they promoted the video, and they really wanted to hear why I like the product compared to other ones. And I was honest with them. I'm like, honestly, there's no reason why I like yours. It works, and I guess that's why. There's nothing special that you're doing. So I just picked this one. It was just totally random. But you could go with any of these, and the reviews are good, and they're on Amazon. $39.
These are amazingly cheap. I mean, that Nokia thing I was talking about would cost $30. And for $30 you could get the 6,000 version.
So this one that they have on Amazon, it's $20 for 3,200 milliamp, and the 6,000 milliamp is $29. So if you have your spouse, your partner, your kids, and their battery is always dying on their phone, get them one of these, and I'm telling you, they're going to be really happy. My wife carries it all the time now, and I always have one.
I'm tempted to buy one.
You should. You should buy it.
They sell a 3,200 milliamp version too, as it turns out, for $20.
$20?
Yeah, 20, 30, and 40. Yeah, crazy.
And they come in different colors too. You get the gold, the black, the space gray. It's like Apple products. Everybody's doing that now. Have you heard Apple's doing something here, Paul?
Are they still around, Apple?
I don't know. I don't know how that company's going to do. They got this thing coming out. It's called the iPad. I told the story 100
times, but I told you the story about my mother, right?
No.
Who only has a vague understanding of what it is I do for a living.
No.
So she's trying to talk to me about work. It was a couple of years ago, but She says, "What about that other company? Are they still around?" And I'm like, "Who?" She goes, "There's Microsoft, but then there was always this other company." And I'm like, "Apple?" She goes, "Yeah, Apple. Are they still a thing?" I'm like, "Yeah, they're still around." Like, she has no idea. Like, no idea.
That's hysterical.
Yeah.
That's really, I like it when people are like, "Oh, you got a Macintosh, huh?"
Yeah.
You know? I'm like, I haven't heard anyone refer to it as a Macintosh in years. Yeah, I'm going to post a link, by the way, in the chat to this if you're watching live. I think this is it. There we go. Oh, yeah. So I posted a link in there. So, Paul, you have the iPad on your list.
Yeah, so I sort of thought of this as like the major tech groups. I got the video game console in there. I got the laptop. I got the living room set-top box. And so for the final two things, it's like tablet and phone. And when I look out at the tablet landscape, I mean, I'd love to be able to say there's this Android tablet that makes sense for everybody, and you should get this one. And I just don't see that. This year, Google replaced their Nexus 7 with a Nexus 9, and it's expensive, and I don't think the build quality is anywhere as good as what Apple does. I do like that as Android 5, but I mean, everyone's going to get that eventually, or every new device anyway. I just don't see anything there that is the, kind of, I don't want to say budget, but lower priced alternative to iPad from the Android side that makes sense for everybody. And
that's on the same, that's on the same level as what an iPad is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And look, I write primarily about Microsoft. I know a lot of people thinking, but Paul, what about Microsoft? Windows tablets. I don't think Windows tablets make any sense at all right now. I don't think the ecosystem. The ecosystem is not there. It's not my opinion. It is literally not there, and it's just a mistake to do that. Now there are hybrid devices like Surface where you get like tablet plus PC and all that kind of stuff, and obviously that's very interesting. But that's
not what you're talking about. You're talking about an actual tablet. A Windows tablet.
Yeah. And, as good as like for example, HP sells a $99 Stream tablet, 7-inch tablet. I think 7 inch is a little small. They also sell an 8-inch version. For what it is, that is an amazing value, but it's still a Windows tablet and it suffers from that ecosystem. And I think it's a huge problem. And when I think, for example, like I'm going to fly next week and I'm going to hop on a plane with actually, I probably bring the Lenovo because I'm reviewing it. But let's say a Surface Pro 3 typically, which is a very thin and light kind of device, but I use it as a laptop. An iPad of some kind. In my case, it's going to be a 2-generation-old iPad mini or whatever. It doesn't really matter. And that's for media. It's for reading. It's for watching a rented movie on the flight or something like that, or in the hotel room at night. And of course, I'm going to bring my cell phone, my smartphone. And that's not a lot of stuff to carry. That's not a heavy bag. It's not like the old days anymore. The need to have one device that does everything is a little artificial. It's not really a big deal. And I also think we can mix and match. Windows laptop. I could have a Android smartphone and I could have an iPad tablet. What's the difference? It really doesn't matter. You should get the best thing in each category, the best thing that you need, the best thing for what your particular needs are.
I mean, I would say that
iPad,
the iPad Air is the iPad Air 2 and the iPad Mini 3 are, you're absolutely right. They are the best tablets on the market today.
But even if, see again, everyone's needs are different. Like you could go into Apple's reconditioned store or whatever it's called, the refurb store, possibly even buy something as old as an iPad 2, but get it with a lot more storage because that's what you care about. You want to put a lot of stuff on there. And yes, it's only a 1024 by 768 screen or whatever. It's not a Retina screen. Something like that, or the first gen Retina iPad Mini or something, where you buy like a lower end device, but with more storage, because I actually think that's a big deal for people who have to be offline. If you're using it around the house, doesn't matter. But if you're going to take it with you like I do when you travel, the storage is a big deal. But you can make that kind of trade-off decision. I just, they're more expensive than they should be. But the ecosystem it's an explosion of content. It is. All the best apps, all the best games, the best digital media stuff. Everything's there. You'd be stupid not to get one.
It is, and it's baffling to me that we haven't gotten still, years after this thing is out. It's still, there's no other option really. And listen, I understand Android is Android and people love it. My personal opinion, and I have an Android tablet and I have an Android phone. It's not, when you're talking about a tablet, The argument is still going to be Apple.
Yeah, because honestly, when it comes down to it, we can debate endlessly the relative merits of what Microsoft has done with Windows or what Apple has done with iOS 8 and what Google has done with Android 5. I don't know. I look at the tablet as a consumption device. Like I said, I think people are going to play games on it. They're going to run light apps on it. They're going to do Facebook on it.
That's exactly
email,
what I do.
Web browsing. They're going to rent movies. They're going to, do that kind of stuff. Who cares what the operating system is? Who cares?
Yeah. You describe what I do on it. Every night I go to Reddit. I look at animal pictures on Reddit.
Nice.
I look at cat picture. I go to the Cavalier. I'm not even making a joke. I go on to the Cavalier, the dog, the King Charles Cavalier subreddit, and I post pictures of my dog, and then I save photos of other people's Cavaliers, and I send them to my wife. This is what I do every day on Reddit.
Okay.
I do it on my iPad. And
you can do it on any tablet.
You can do it on any tablet, but
the point being, but who cares? Like, who cares what the tablet is? To me, the problem gets in the way when the experience isn't as good. Like there are things about the iPad that aren't, the iPad's not perfect. So, for example, Apple doesn't allow Amazon to have their store in the Kindle app unless Amazon were to give them 30% of every purchase that's ever made through that app, which is of course insane. So they don't do it, and so only on iPad you don't get the Kindle store in the app, and that's a little weird. Android you do, Windows you do. But if you use Kindle on Windows, what you discover is you can only read a small percentage of the available content in the Kindle ecosystem through the Kindle app on Windows because that version of the app is so terrible. So again, everyone's needs vary, but I just looking at this fairly, I'm sorry, but here we are 4.5 years later, and basically when it comes to tablets, it's iPad and there's everything else.
Am I crazy to say that even like the same applications on Android compared to iOS, the Android applications don't run as efficiently? Oh, I'm not saying all applications. I'm saying there's many applications. Like, here's a great example. I have the same Reddit application on my phone, on my Android phone, and I also have it on an iPhone. The iPhone version works much better than the Android version. But that's not every application is like that, but there's many applications that are like that. My next question
I don't know.
Is
I don't really.
I'm going to ask the audience this. How many different ecosystems are you in? Are you in, are people just sticking to one? Because that's a deciding factor also. If you have a Chromebook and you have an Android tablet, the odds are you're not going to go and buy, an iPhone. You're going to buy an Android phone.
There's a whole segment of the population we've semi-ignored here, which is the Amazon guys. If you're attracted by the low price of Kindle tablets, the Kindle Fire tablets on Amazon.com, and you kind of buy into that, and maybe you've bought some movies on them, and you're buying your apps through that app store, and you're going to have a Fire TV in your living room. You're going to have a Kindle HDX or a Kindle HD whatever tablet, and that's absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It kind of doesn't matter. And I think that's my point. Like, I don't really like the carousel UI, especially on the phone that Amazon's created for its Fire OS. But you know what? It really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
So I'm looking at the chat room now, and it's interesting because there are plenty of people out there. Mostly, the majority of the people commenting, they're in multiple ecosystems.
Yeah, well,
I guess it'd be a little different for us because we're a very specific group here.
Well, I'm in multiple ecosystems too, but it's because I write about this stuff, and I would think that people who are technical spend a lot of time checking things out, and I think it's smart and it's even mature to not blindly just say, well, I'm in the Apple ecosystem, so I'm sticking here. You look around. When you hear about, you think, Spotify just put out a new feature. I mean, look into it, see if it changes things for you. I worry about people who are too set in their ways to kind of move on to the next thing. It's really not as difficult as a lot of people make it sound. It's not a big deal to go back and forth.
When it becomes a big deal? When you're consuming like television and media, right? Yep. That's when it gets a little annoying. Like, now I'm in that boat because I have Google, obviously. So I bought a couple things on Google Play. I bought a couple things on Amazon Prime, and I bought the rest in iTunes. So I'm all over the place.
Yeah, no, I do that too. I'm going to get the details of which services were wrong. These are wrong, but I had bought this movie, and I'm looking at the list of movies, probably in iTunes, and I'm like, why is this movie not here? I know I bought this, but it's because it's somewhere else. So we may never solve that problem because these guys are not going to work together to prevent you a singular view of your collections because they want you, to stay in there.
So someday. My next pick on this list does not follow the flow at all.
Okay.
Do you know what this is? Do you see
nope.
the
I just see it. I don't know what it is. Yeah.
Okay. It's called the iGrill Mini. And the reason why I put this on the list is because people are cooking a lot for the family around this time. And there are plenty of people out there that don't understand the temperature that they're supposed to cook their food at. I'm one of these people. I like everything a little too rare when I'm cooking steak. Like when it comes to steak, you're fine. But when you're making chicken or turkey, you can't really do that, right?
Oh, okay. I was going to say steak can't be too rare. But okay, fair enough.
That's how I like it. So it's easy. Pork
chicken can.
Yeah. So this device, it's $49 and it connects to your iPhone, and it has an application, and it tells you the temperature on the iPhone of whatever you're cooking, and it'll tell you you have this much more time left based on the temperature. This is for this is for that, and it'll alert you. It's actually a pretty good little device. I think more people should have these cooking thermometers, these digital-based ones.
It also apparently works with Android smartphones, by the way.
It does work with Android as well, yeah. It was just like a little thing that I threw in there. I told Jess to get me this for Christmas. I don't know why. I'm fascinated by these little gadgets, this is something that anybody could use and they could kind of like. They're like, oh, okay, it's a cool little gadget. I don't know if are you big in this? Like, do you like to check the temperature and stuff like that, or do you?
I'm not
just
the cook in the family, so no. But I don't disrespect this. This is a need. Like, I think this could be useful.
One of my buddies, he's like, this is all like whenever he makes anything, he always has the thermometer. He's checking the temperature of what he makes, and he's a phenomenal cook. And he's the one that told me about this. He's like, oh no, you're crazy. You should definitely get one of these type of devices and do it. It was just my little stupid pick. That was my last one on my list. Now, your last one on your list is not a stupid pick. It's actually a great deal. It's the Lumia 635.
Yeah, and it was an even better deal a little while back because this thing has gone on sale a few times this year, this holiday season even. But the 635 or the 630, they're essentially the same phone, is this year's version of the Lumia 520, which was the big pick from last year. It was my overall favorite bit of technology from the entire year. It was, in fact, the best-selling Windows device of 2013, and this is the new version of it. And so, same sort of machine, a little slightly bigger screen, 4.5 inches. The case pops up. You can replace it with different color cases. I put a green case on mine, for example. It's a 512 meg device. I think off the top of my head, I want to say it's probably 8 gigs, but I expanded mine with micro SD storage, which everyone should do. But this is that phone where you could use it as a phone. You'd be very happy with it. You can get it on T-Mobile, for example. It works. Does it work on AT&T? I think the one I have does work on AT&T. I think that's actually not. No, I'm sorry. Mine is in fact T-Mobile.
635 is 635 is T-Mobile only.
Yeah. And but you can get it no contract. And so this is the same value proposition as the 520 was a year ago, just slightly updated hardware. And bigger screen, meaning you get Here Plus Maps and Drive and Transit and all that stuff. And that means you can download maps and use them when you're offline, which means you can use it without a data plan. So you can bring this thing in a car, you can map your directions, and it's gonna work. It works without data. It means it's an awesome MP3 player. You can load it up with, obviously, Xbox Music comes on there, but Spotify is available, Pandora is available, the Real service is available. I mean, basically everything except Apple and Google is available. All that stuff is there. Beats Music is available, and actually Apple owns Beats. It's a great game player. Just playing games on the subway or on the bus or whatever. Commuting to work, it's great for that. It's a great phone, but it doesn't have to be. It because of its price. It's the type of thing you could give to a child. You could use it as a second device for yourself. Maybe your Android screen cracks and you got 6 months left in your contract, and you don't want to break the contract. You got to wait 6 months. Buy this and use this until your phone's back, until you can get a new phone on contract. It's all.
I'm looking
at
T-Mobile's website. They have it for if you get it through T-Mobile, it's going to be a little bit more expensive. It's $170 on T-Mobile's website.
Okay, so get it from the Microsoft store.
Yeah,
it's $69 plus.
Okay, so now this is I'm totally gonna go away from this for a second, but I have a question for you. Have you looked at how like AT&T and T-Mobile are now selling phones? There's no more subsidized phones, right? It does not exist with them anymore.
I think there isn't a T-Mobile. I think AT&T will still offer it, but what AT&T wants you to do is get on that next plan. And there are two versions of it, right?
Am I crazy to think this is insane?
What do you mean?
I'll tell you why. So if I want an iPhone, for example, right? I go to AT&T. And you guys in the chat room.
So, by the way, I bought my iPhone the way you're describing, so I can tell you how that worked for me to go on.
So you're paying like $24 a month for that phone, right?
I pay $45 a month, but yes.
Okay, for $45. Okay, fine, $45 a month. Yep. For 24 months.
Yeah, I can't remember the two. The ranges are something like we should probably look this up rather than just talk out of our butts. But
it's not a deal, right? Like
you're not 24 years. Well, no, over the course of the contract, you're paying just as much as you would otherwise, right? There is one. Here's the difference. The difference between Next and the previous subsidized phone pricing, just on AT&T, I don't know how everyone else works, is that on AT&T, let's say you bought an iPhone 2 years ago, and you paid $200 for whatever the low-end version of it was. And you paid that up front, right? And then you got your thing on contract. Now, there's money in what you're paying every month that's going off to pay for that phone. You don't pay for that. It's not called out in your bill, but part of that bill is the subsidized payments for the phone.
Okay.
When 2 years elapses, you will have paid whatever that price is, $600. So it's $400 subsidized plus the $200 up front, spread out over 24 payments, whatever.
24 payments. Okay.
Whatever that works out to be. If you didn't upgrade, if you kept using the phone, and so now it's 2 years and 3 months or 2 years and 5 months later,
you're still paying that
you're
price.
Still paying that thing, that subsidized part of it that's not called out in the bill. And so the way that Next works is they just divide the subsidized thing into payments, and after I think it's 20 months or there's two versions of it. There's 20 months.
I think and 24. I think 20 and 24.
Okay, whatever they may be. You pay X amount of dollars for the phone. It is called out on your thing, and then you get to at that point, from that point on you can, you can upgrade or not. But once you paid off the phone, you paid off the phone.
But that monthly bill, is it going to be the same or is it going to be more now?
It's going to be less.
It's going to be less than what
you your phone. You can just now you've paid it off. That disappears from your bill. So in the case, I have 3 lines, so it's kind of screwy. But I bought each of the 3 phones has been bought in a completely different fashion. But in the case of the iPhone, I used Next. I wanted to see what it was like. The truth is, I'm procrastinating about. I'm just going to go pay it off. I'm going to get it off the bill. But my bill for 3 lines, and I think it's only 2 gigs of data because paying the monthly upgrade to 3 or 4 gigs if I need it is not any more expensive than paying for it up front.
Yeah,
is probably $140. But my monthly bill is actually like $195 or I guess it would be $185, however that works out. Because like $45 once you figure in taxes and whatever else is for that iPhone payment. And it's expensive, but it's a way for someone who can't afford to pay for something up front, like an actual unsubsidized no contract phone. Because of course the iPhone I got, which is like the middle version of the iPhone 6 Plus, which would probably cost $850 or something, or some ginormous amount of money.
No. So here's my question. So your bill, like let's say you went into AT&T and you did the whole subsidized thing. You paid $199 for the iPhone, and you stuck with what you have. My monthly bill will be cheaper than adding the $45 for that phone by going with the next one, right? Like I'm talking about the monthly bill.
Mine would have been more when I did it, which is part of the reason I did the Next. The other reason actually with Next is you can upgrade more quickly.
You could but you have to give the phone back.
Yeah, well, of course. Well, yeah, but most people don't want the phone anyway. I mean, so this is like leasing cars, in a way.
It is like leasing cars, yeah.
In the sense that some people like to get a new car every 3 years or something. I think with smartphones, we're still in this kind of immature world where people do, it's like we got to get the next one, and we're all still very excited. This probably calms down over time, but I think that the thing that the next big change is going to be more along the lines of $350 unsubsidized phones, that are reasonable, like a Lumia 735 you could buy for $300 with no contract, that kind of thing.
I mean, I got my OnePlus for $299, and it's it's a flagship phone.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good. That seems like the right price, And then at $300, I think a lot of people would say, "Yeah, I could use this for a year." It's not bad. A lot of people would say, I'm going to use that for 2 years, or longer, whatever. I mean, everyone's different, but I think that gets into an agreeable space for a lot of people. Yeah, like an iPhone 6 Plus. I mean, I should look it up just for the humor of it. But like if you were just to buy this, I mean, it's just so ridiculous. Like
$800.
I bet it's it's got to be the one that I bought is, let's see. Or I haven't really bought it yet, have I? The one I'm buying eventually. The AT&T Next is from $31 a month.
Okay.
If you go that route.
On top of your access charge, your phone charge, all that stuff.
Yeah. It doesn't say. I mean, it's funny because the 64 gig version, when you buy it from AT&T through the Apples, it doesn't matter where, I guess, is $400. Is the down if you want to go on a traditional plan, or from $35-$38 a month, and I think mine's 40 something. It's probably because of taxes and all that.
So at the end of the day, it's going to be the same.
Well, except that I find the next thing. Look, I'm not an expert in this stuff, but I think for people who are buying cell phones the way that people buy cell phones today, where you do want to upgrade in X number of months, Next is probably going to be a savings. It was for me. That's the one thing I remember, and that's actually why I did do it that way in my case. But that might have had something to do with, when that line was coming up due for the contract and that kind of thing. And I don't remember exactly, but I remember that if I went on Next, I could do it then, and it was cheaper in that case for me.
Yeah. Okay. So I kind of understand this a little better now.
Well, T-Mobile's the one that started this kind of thing, right? And they're
and Verizon's not doing it yet, as far as I know.
They will. All the big guys will do it.
Or no, they are, but they're not pushing it as much as AT&T and
both AT&T and Verizon have something. AT&T is called AT&T Go or something, where it's like a Go phone, where it's they have those lower end phones usually, where you just buy for the phone, and then you're just paying for the service, and there's no subsidy involved. I think that's the future. I really do think we're going to move to that model across the board, but we're going to go kicking and screaming.
Yeah. So we have a couple more things on this list. Do we? And these are suggestions. These are the suggestions for buying someone a gift.
Well, see, in my case, I have these. So my picks were kind of like a cross between Christmas and like Xbox One, obviously a Christmas gift. I guess they're all good Christmas gifts. Anyone who buys anyone an iPad Air 2 for Christmas is either rich or clueless, but whatever. I mean, I think of them as just, general end of year, top 5, whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
But I added a couple of goofy little things because these are kind of fun for me. And these would be kind of cool gifts, especially if people are my age who, grew up with these things. You can get these classic video game consoles in like kind of a new format with a bunch of, programs on them. I love that kind of stuff.
So you have two of these. You have the Intellivision and you have the ColecoVision.
Yeah. Yeah. And I grew up with Intellivision. My friend had a ColecoVision. Everyone we knew had an Atari too, and I'm sure there's
an Atari version. What was the difference between the two?
I could go into a very deep, detailed explanation of the difference, but
no, I'd love to know.
The Intellivision was an improvement over the Atari, both from a resources, graphics, quality, and so forth kind of perspective. The original version of the console had hardwired controllers. They were like those curly Q, like the phone cord type of things. and it had that kind of Mylar number pad on it with a disc and then buttons on both sides. And so the controller was completely different from a traditional Atari joystick, and the source of much frustration. An Atari joystick, I want to say, had 8 positions you could go in directionally with the stick, and the Intellivision probably had 16, I think. And so every game would come with these little slide-in overlays that would cover the keypad and would show you different options for the game. And so in baseball, for example, there would be a baseball diamond on there. And if you wanted someone to field the ball, you would press that position on the field. That guy would become active. And those games were just more sophisticated. ColecoVision, it's interesting, roughly on par technologically with the the original Nintendo, the NES that came out several years later. In fact, my first reaction on seeing the Nintendo was, this is ColecoVision. Why are we getting excited about this? ColecoVision came out 4 years ago. It also had a kind of Intellivision controller, though it had like a knob instead of a disc, and it was at the top instead of the bottom. But it was a more powerful system. And those games actually looked like the games you saw in the arcade, which was so exciting about it. And that was true of like the Atari 5200 as well. The ColecoVision.
I'm looking at the. I don't know much about the ColecoVision. It ran till 85.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They turned it into a computer, right? There was a computer add-on. There was a separate standalone computer called Atom. There was an add-on where you could play Atari games through it as well, like a kind of an expansion thing. And actually, Intellivision had one of those as well. They were just more technically advanced in turn. The original Atari 2600 is kind of the base, the Odyssey 2 or whatever. And then you move up from there is Intellivision, up from there is ColecoVision. And ColecoVision / Atari 5200 were probably fairly comparable.
So you could buy these on Amazon now. They have them.
Yeah, and that's what's fun. So these at-game flashback systems are, roughly $50, and they come with a bunch of games. And so these little new flashback consoles look like the original console, which I think will be fun for people. And they, like the Intellivision one has that look, although that actual console is probably a tiny thing. It's not the big thing that the original Intellivision was. In fact, if you look at the picture of it, those controllers used to slide into the console. You would store them that way. And of course, like all those early video game consoles that had the fake wood grain, so it would match the fake wood grain on your TV, your RCA TV set that you bought from Sears, like we were talking about last week. But the Intellivision version has 60 built-in games. I don't know exactly which ones they are. I have an extensive Intellivision commercial collection downstairs. I probably have 80-something games, so there are more games than are put in here. And then
this is actually pretty cool. You could, they have these for all of them, like almost every console ever made.
Yeah,
like these like knockoffs that kind of do everything.
Well, this is obviously an official thing. Like
that's an official
one. The consoles
yeah.
themselves look like the original consoles, although the boxes are much small. Like the original boxes were these big things, so they're small, and you can't put the controls in them. The controllers are almost as big as the console themselves, but they're styled to look like the old thing because that's what you would want, as a nostalgic kind of thing. But yeah, I think it's just kind of fun. Obviously, the Atari Flashback one had come out a long time ago, but I'm looking at this now. Actually, I noticed there's a Sega Genesis classic game. I wonder if they have like a Sega Master System. I would consider.
Let's see, Master System. I think they should. Let's see. Sega Master System 1. I don't know what this... Oh, yeah, they do. The Game Arcade Master. So this is...
Oh, jeez.
Comes with 26 games. Is this sold by Sega? Plug and play. 26 games. Sega licensed games. I don't know if they have the Master... You know what? They may have Master System on this.
Yeah. I mean,
it's crazy, right? That they fit like 26 games
on
like a stick this big.
I don't know what Intellivision off the top of my head, but Atari cartridges started out being like 4K, and then they probably moved up to 8K or something like that. You could fit every Atari, ColecoVision, and Intellivision game in RAM on your computer in like 1 gig or something. I mean, it's ludicrous like how small these things are. But a lot. By the way, I don't know exactly what the Zaxxon's a great game that's in there. These are great games. Like they're like a lot of them, they're very playable. I mean, they're not going to look anything like the stuff we're used to today, obviously. But, the thing that they had that we sometimes lose today because now the presentation can be so, photographic perfect.
Yeah.
Is just this kind of gameplay kind of thing. It's very basic. It's neat.
Yeah, and listen, guys, let us know if you have any ideas. Send it our way, and we're going to talk about it the next couple of weeks while we're doing the show leading up to Christmas and the holiday season's here, and people are always looking for suggestions. So send it our way, and you may suggest something for me to buy somebody. Look at this. This is the Hyperkin Retron 3 video game system. It's NES, SNES, and Genesis in one. This thing looks insane. This thing is crazy looking. So send it our way, and then we'll talk about it on the show. But we do need to wrap up for today. I'm on borrowed time here. I'm using someone else's studio. It's like I'm in a radio studio. We got to wrap it up. Someone else is coming in here to do the weather. Go to our website, gfknetwork.com. You can catch all our shows there. Of course, we archive this show on gfknetwork.com. Of course, on winsuperside.com as well. If you want to help us out, it's the holiday season. You're buying something on Amazon. Use our Amazon link. Go to gfq.co/Amazon when you're making a purchase. We get a tiny little credit from the sale, and it really helps us out throughout the year when we're doing upgrades and changes to the hardware and the visuals in the studio. Also, you want to support the show? Support our Patreon campaign. That's patreon.com/whatthetech. You can fund anything you want virtually, and you get access to the bonus show that we record after What the Tech each and every week. You can follow me on Twitter @AndrewZarin. Of course, it's @TheRod on Twitter. Paul also does another podcast, a phenomenal show called Windows Weekly. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's called Windows Weekly, and they talk about Anderson Windows. And no, that's not the right show. It's not about Windows. It's about technology on the Twit Network every Wednesday at 2 p.m. East. And that's it, guys, for this week. We'll see you all. Hey, by the way, next week, change in time. We're recording the show on Thursday, right? Am I wrong there, Paul?
No, you're right.
Thursday, right? Okay. Thursday at I believe at noon. So the show will be live on Thursday. We'll see y'all next week. Take care.